Professional sports, like any industry worth billions, run on power, influence, and control. When one organization dominates a market for years, it often starts to believe the system belongs to them. They set the rules, decide who becomes the star, and shape the story people hear. But things change when a new talent arrives and turns everything upside down. Imagine a 24-year-old rookie stepping in and quickly proving that the old system no longer works. When that happens, the people who have held power for years rarely step aside. Instead of adapting, they often push back hard to protect their position. Right now, many people believe this kind of struggle is happening around USA basketball. The tension that has been growing within the WNBA during collective bargaining talks appears to have reached the international stage. Some longtime players and insiders seem uneasy as Caitlin Clark continues to attract massive attention and interest around sport. Because of that, critics say the response has been subtle but strategic. They argue that her playing time is limited, the ball isn't always in her hands, and experienced veterans who contribute less on the court are placed ahead of her. Questions grew even louder after Game 2 against Puerto Rico. The offense looked slow and disconnected, and reporters wanted to know why Chelsea Gray started again at point guard despite producing little on offense, while one of the most exciting offensive players in the game remained on the bench. When the media asked head coach Kara Lawson for an explanation, they expected a clear basketball reason. Instead, many felt the answer sounded more like a carefully crafted public statement than a direct response about the decision.
I think what I like the most is how much they share the basketball, their willingness to play with one another and to be excited for each other's success. We're playing a lot of people. They're playing a lot less than their normal minutes. It's different for them rotationally. I mean, all of these players start, with their respective WNBA teams, and all of them are like, if not the number one option, the number two option on their team. And so you're asking them to play a different role, in particular on the offensive end, and they're all doing it willingly and trying.
Listen carefully to the language used in that statement. Instead of giving clear basketball reasons, the focus shifts to phrases about players accepting different roles and being praised for playing fewer minutes than usual. The real question, how players are actually performing on the court, is avoided. Rather than discussing results, the message highlights loyalty to the team structure. When leaders cannot support a decision with numbers, statistics, or visible performance, they often change the conversation. Terms like culture, sacrifice, and team roles start to replace clear explanations. In this situation, critics believe the same thing is happening. It is difficult to explain with data why Chelsea Gray would start ahead of Caitlin Clark. The statistics, game pace, and overall offensive flow don't strongly back that choice. Because of that, some feel the younger talent is being asked to step back so veteran players can keep their position. The idea, according to critics, is that one of the most exciting playmakers in the game is being asked to limit her impact while others remain in the spotlight. To them, that looks like poor management rather than a strategy built on performance. The concerns go beyond the starting lineup. Observers also point to the team's offensive system. When Caitlin Clark does enter the game, they say her biggest strength, running the offense, is often reduced. Instead of controlling the ball and directing plays, she is sometimes moved off the ball and used more like a traditional shooting guard coming off screens. Those who question the strategy believe this approach slows her natural rhythm and reduces her ability to create opportunities for teammates. In their view, it also lowers her assist numbers and limits how much she can influence the pace of the game. Supporters of this perspective argue that the pattern feels familiar, as if it follows a strategy seen before when rising stars challenge an established system.
Get out of Kelsey Gray yet. None. Why is she starting 2 games in a row? Why come you took the ball out of Caitlin Clark's hands? Because to me, from the outside looking in, and I just hate to even put this narrative out there, what I seen today looks very similar to what the Indiana Fever run with Stephanie White. Is Stephanie White subliminally sabotaging.
Some critics are now asking a very direct question. Is Stephanie White, even indirectly, holding her own player back? It's the kind of question major sports media rarely asks openly, but many fans are already debating it while watching the games. The idea behind this concern is what some call quiet sabotage. Instead of openly criticizing a player, the environment around them changes in ways that make it harder for them to perform at their best. The system slows down. Teammates who play at a different pace are placed around them. The player is asked to step back and give priority to veterans. When that happens, the player's numbers can naturally drop. Later, people point to the statistics and say the player wasn't as dominant as expected. Critics believe this method protects the status of established players while raising doubts about the rising star. Supporters of Caitlin Clark argue that something similar happened during her rookie season and may still be happening now. They believe decision-makers worry that if Clark is allowed to fully run the offense at her natural speed and style, it could make some veteran point guards look outdated by comparison. From that point of view, the system is being shaped to preserve the current hierarchy instead of focusing purely on what might make the team most effective on the court. What frustrates many fans even more is the feeling that other storylines are sometimes promoted to shift attention away from Clark's huge influence on the sport and the audience it attracts.
It was systematically put in place for Paige Beckers to ball out. From what I've seen. They had a game plan to make.
Some observers believe another layer of strategy is also at play. If you can't slow down one star, the next move is to highlight another player so the spotlight is shared. In this conversation, Paige Beckers is often mentioned. She is widely respected as an outstanding player with elite skills and a bright future. However, critics argue that her style and public image fit more comfortably within the current structure of the sport, which makes her easier for the existing system to embrace. The theory from those critics is that the establishment would prefer the future of women's basketball to look like it has several equal stars rather than being dominated by one central figure. Caitlin Clark. Because of that, they believe certain lineups or offensive sets may highlight Beckers while Clark is sometimes placed in roles where she handles the ball less and defers more to veteran teammates. From this viewpoint, the goal would be to shape how things appear on the international stage. If the statistics look balanced, casual fans might assume the gap between players is small. Supporters of this argument say the message being pushed is that coaches and executives create stars through their systems. But they also point out that Clark's response to the situation has been very different from the drama around her. Rather than complaining about playing time or posting frustration online, Clark has largely stayed focused on the game itself. When she speaks publicly, she tends to analyze what went wrong on the court and how the team can improve, approaching the discussion with calm and careful thinking. So while debates swirl around her, from coaching decisions to league politics, Clark's approach has mostly remained the same. Focus on the basketball and address the real problems within the game.
Now, and let's listen.
I thought the game was a little funky. I felt like we probably didn't play our best. I thought Paige played really well, but it felt good. I obviously probably didn't shoot it as well as I would have liked. I think their zone kind of threw us off. I thought it kind of slowed down our pace a little bit. We didn't get as much in transition, so I think if like another team plays zone, just continue to play a lot of pace until after.
When asked about the game, Caitlin Clark kept her answer simple. She said the zone defense from Puerto Rico slowed the team down and disrupted their rhythm. It may have sounded like a basic comment, but many people saw it as a thoughtful and mature response. Instead of talking about her minutes or creating headlines, she focused on the actual basketball issue. Her point was that the zone defense forced the U.S. team to slow its pace. Rather than playing fast and attacking in transition, the offense shifted into a slower half-court style. That change made it easier for the defense to stay organized. Critics of a strategy say the problem grew because the ball wasn't consistently in the hands of the player best suited to break a zone. When the offense runs through players who aren't stretching the floor or pushing the tempo, the defense becomes much harder to break down. From that perspective, Clark's comment quietly pointed to a bigger tactical issue. If the team had increased the pace, attacked quickly in transition, and forced defenders to scramble, the zone might have collapsed much earlier in the game. Supporters say this moment showed that Clark isn't only talented physically. They believe she also sees the strategy of a game very clearly and understand how modern offenses create advantages. That difference in approach between how the game could be played and how it is currently being managed is at the center of the debate surrounding the team right now.